I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to be sitting down later. Come to Israel for the fantastic weather. Ignore Airbnb cutting us out of Yesha, out of Judea Samaria, pretending that Jews don't exist there and banning Jews from renting out their homes if they live in the wrong part of Israel. I am walking in Park Hayakon at the moment, and I thought, I'm not necessarily sure I'm going to be sitting down and drinking coffee at my usual spot because, well, it is a mess. So let's show you what happens when we get one night of heavy rain. What we have here, I'm going to flip the camera around. That's the path I normally walk along to get to the other side of the park, and that's the spillover. This river here. This river is the Yarkon River, which runs right through Tel Aviv, and it is absolutely brimful. If I turn the camera around now sideways, it'll all go to shit, so I won't. And it is pretty much pouring. Screen's covered in rain, but this is so unusual. That's why I'm out in the rain having my Friday morning walk, because to be honest, why not? It doesn't happen very often. It's not that cold. It's somewhere just shy of 20 degrees, maybe 18 or 17. And rain is such an unusual occurrence here, like this, that, you know, I'll go out in it. Of course, I grew up in England, so this would not have been unusual. Now, I've got a few words to say on the Airbnb thing this week. Firstly, what the fuck do we need Airbnb? Sorry for the language. You know, this shows the problem of the centralized internet. There's no reason why there needs to be one all-powerful holiday renting company on the internet. And I hope that what comes from this, you know, what they're doing is they're delisting maybe 200 Jewish-only homes that live over a mythical green line. When you live in Israel, there's territory that we have held since 1948, since our War of Independence. During the War of Independence in 1948, we fought invading Arab armies, real armies, proper armies backed by the British. We had an Egyptian army, a Jordanian army, the Iraqis were here, Syrians were here. Everybody piled in to try and kill the state of Israel that had just declared itself. Basically, the British moved out and said, have at it, you guys. But the British didn't quite move out because they had basically built the Jordanian army. Now, the Jordanian army is important because it invaded from over the other side of the Jordan River. Now, again, Jordan as a country was created by the British. It was a gift. It sits on part of what was called Mandate Palestine, British Mandate Palestine. 2/3 of Mandate Palestine, which was supposed to become Israel, became Jordan, given to a king, a Hashemite king. It was a gift because they gave Saudi Arabia to someone else. So they had to give this guy something. He's not even from Jordan, actually, and he's not part of the Jordanian people, in fact. They fought wars over this, and his hold on power to this day, his family's hold on power, is somewhat precarious because he's not of the people. We just installed a king. The British did. Anyway, the Jordanians are important for this story because they came in from the east and they took and held the central hills of the country. In the north, that's called Samaria, and in the south, that's called Judea. And Jerusalem sits right at the apex, right in the middle of this region, bisecting Samaria to the north, Judea to the south. Now, there's not a whole lot going on in the Samarian hills. There's a big town called Ariel out there. And north of Ariel, from there to the Kinneret, there's very little. There aren't many Arabs. There aren't many Jews. There's a few little settlements of Jews. Towns. Not even towns up there, actually. It's mostly farms and kibbutzes, running farms. That's the northern part. Very, very unoccupied. You drive through. I drove through that area with Tommy Robinson. We drove all the way from the Sea of Galilee in the north, right down through the middle of this area, largely unoccupied. Now, unoccupied by anybody, let alone Jews or Arabs. In the south, the Judean hills, Jerusalem, and then to the south, there you've got big places. You've got, from the Arab side, you've got Ramallah, and you've got a town called Bethlehem, which most of you have heard of. I would say it's probably the second famous town in the world after Jerusalem. Am I right in saying that? Jerusalem and Bethlehem together, probably. Bethlehem is almost a suburb of Jerusalem today because of urban sprawl. I mean, the two join up. It's a very short drive. So if I go on Airbnb right now and I look for properties in Jerusalem, I'll actually find quite a few that are technically in Bethlehem. And some might even say they're in Bethlehem, or Bethlehem as it's called here. And then if you look a little bit deeper, some of them say that they're in a suburb or a place called Daisha. And Daisha is a UN refugee camp. And I'd never looked at this before, but Airbnb is full of listings of homes that are in the UN refugee camp. Because an UNRWA refugee camp since 1960, it's not a bunch of tents, it's just homes. They're a bit shabby in places, but there are also some very nice homes. And you can stay in those on Airbnb. But what you can't stay on are Jewish homes in an adjacent area. Now, up at the top of the hills, there's a place called Gush Etzion. It's where my friend Ari Fuld, who was murdered a few weeks ago, lived. I did a long video on him. That area, Gush Etzion, Jews live there. It was a part of Israel that the Jordanians captured in 1948 because we didn't have enough Jews to hold it. It was down to the last few defenders. The Jordanians overran it, slaughtered some. Some were captured and sent back. But it was basically a defence force of a couple of hundred could not hold out against the Royal Jordanian Army backed with British weapons and British training. They couldn't hold it. Same thing actually happened with half of Jerusalem. And that's what led to the division of Jerusalem for the first and only time in its entire 4,000 plus year history. Jerusalem was divided because of this occupation by Jordan. It was divided from 1948-49 to 1967 when it was liberated. Say hello to the geese. And so this whole part, Gush Etzion, overrun, held, captured, and the same up in the north in Samaria, held, captured. These are the hills that overlook Tel Aviv. From around where Ariel is, you look down at the coastal plains, you can see Tel Aviv and you can see the airport, you can see the planes taking off from Ben Gurion. This land is incredibly significant and would be dangerous if anybody else but us held it. So you can rent a home on Airbnb in an apartment in a UN Palestinian refugee camp called Daisha, which is the one I walked through with Tommy Robinson. But you can't rent a home a few kilometers away from a Jew. And that's why this policy of Airbnb is just simple Jew hatred. Now, they don't think of it themselves that way. They're a bunch of left-wingers what always happens with tech companies, you can see the pattern over and over again. Tech companies are built by people who are founded in the real world, who have to deal with physics and computer science and making code work. This is scientific skills. These are real world skills. But what happens is, as the companies become big, they have to deal with people, the interactions between people. This is power dynamics. This is how you get ahead in the world. And the companies eventually get captured by people on the people side. And those people tend to be captured by the zeitgeist. And the zeitgeist today, outside of Israel, is to hate Jews because they've been fed a lie that we waltzed in here and stole this land from other people. The simple reality is, this is where Judaism comes from. This is where Judaism was invented. This is who we are. Everything we do, all of our structure of our lives means more when it happens in Israel. The weather means more when it happens in Israel to a Jew. Nobody else can say that. There's no part of Islamic culture or by any means real Arab culture that is rooted in this land. In fact, even what they consider to be their holy places are, would you believe, coincidentally built on top of our holy places. This is because the entire point of their existence is to snuff us out. That is the reason for the existence of the Palestinian cause. No more, no less. There was no Palestinian nation. There has never been a Palestinian state. Nobody ever desired one until Jews came back and retook our land. Because at the bottom line, and I say this word often, this is the end of Dhimmitude. When Jews re-established the state of Israel and we declared our independence and we said no more, we are not going to be ruled by anybody but ourselves, what we did was we said no to Dhimmitude. We said no to Islamic rule. We said no to subservience, to being... Some people say second-class citizens. That's wrong. Dhimmitude is not even a citizen. Dhimmitude is a sub-slave. It's an economic slave at the very best. But with the whim of the ruler, you can be killed. You do not even have the right to life. We rejected that when we declared our independence in 1948, and we fought with guns and bombs and knives and our hands to get our country back from those who had occupied it for 2,000 years. It was a hell of an achievement, and it's still a hell of an achievement, and we're still fighting and defending it and dying for it. And this is the other thing is, this is where I you see the hope. The reason why will we win and they will lose? We'll win because we're fighting for something. They're fighting to destroy something. We know Israel is the heart of the Jewish people. Judaism is too heavily connected to Israel and nowhere else for anywhere else to mean. We would not fight for anywhere else. And this is Zionism is fighting for Israel. That's it, just Israel, just the land I'm standing on. And Gush Etzion and Samaria. That's it. What they're fighting for is the nullification of us. That's it. They're fighting an Islamic jihad war to crush conquered people. We were once conquered by Islam. They cannot accept that we reverse that. They once conquered Spain. Believe me, if we fell, they'd be heart and soul into fighting Spain next. Same with everywhere else. They're trying to take Europe now. And the problem is that if Europe does fall, that gives them an incredible power base. That's why I worry about Europe falling. That's why I fight, stand alongside Tommy and any people in Europe, nationalists if need be, and patriots in Europe who want to save their civilizations, be it Poland or Hungary or Czechoslovakia or Great Britain. You want to save your civilization from falling to Islam, because I tell you, the fight back, like we fought in 1948 to get our country back, and again in 1967 to hold it and to take back some parts that we should never have lost in 48. That fight is a bitch of a fight. You don't want to get into that. It's far better not to fall in the first place. Okay, it's pissing with rain still. I said my piece. By the way, the Brexit march, Tommy's moved it to Sunday the 9th in London of December. Good luck to all who can attend that. I did vote Brexit. I still have a vote. And I really hope he gets a huge turnout. And big smile and hi to all the Palestinian flag posters in my comments today. I'm not... it's so much fun when I'm walking in Israel in the rain and people are telling me that Israel will fall, and they cannot do a thing about it. They can make AirBnB delist 200 properties. You know what the result will be? We'll build an Israeli Airbnb that will one day crush Airbnb. And the other thing is, once a company is captured by this term, Modians, people who deal with the interactions of people only, once it's captured by them, eventually they will financially collapse. It's going to happen to Google. It's going to happen to Facebook. All of these companies will disappear. Other technologies will arise to destroy them. And so this is the forest on the rainiest day of the year so far. River is overflowing to my right, and thank you for joining me. I'm Brian of London. Oh, big shout out to my patrons again. You want to jump on Patreon/Brian of London? It's very, very much appreciated since I got demonetized by YouTube. It's just, and even if you don't actually put any money in there, if I start getting subscribers on the Patreon page, even zero value ones, I'm going to start putting more content up there and do some exclusives and stuff. But thank you very, very much to my existing Patreons. They are I'm very grateful. It's a great affirmation that I'm doing something useful that people enjoy. All right, speak to you soon. Anybody want to DM me on Twitter, you can always DM me.